Today's conversation is sponsored by First Generation Capital Partners.
What one person spends, another person may not. We've got clients that spend, $1 million a year, and we've got clients that spend a couple of $100,000 a year. And they're both successful based upon their lifestyle and having the income to cover their lifestyle passively.
You're listening to the Going Long podcast with Billy Keels, the #1 podcast for long-distance real asset investing.
Welcome to the Going Long podcast. We're back once again to continue to help to educate you so you feel much more comfortable as well as confident investing beyond your backyard. And yes, I'm your host, Billy Keels, and we're back for another amazing conversation, one that you're going to get a lot out of. And so we're going to get to that right away. But I just want to say thank you for continuing to share, for continuing to tag us and doing that across LinkedIn and across Instagram. It's fantastic. Really, really appreciate it. Appreciate you. And also too, if you wanted to check out any of the, I think at this point, over 300 plus episodes of the podcast, which is top 1.5% podcast rated globally, just go to firstgencp.com/podcasts and you can find every single podcast, transcripts, audio, visual, anything and everything that you'd want. So also too, if you've ever wanted to know what it was like to have $1 billion worth of assets under management or work with people who are CEOs, business owners, highly paid consultants, et cetera, you're really going to get a lot out of today's conversation, especially if you've ever lived overseas or have your parents are living overseas or you've gone through an international expat experience. I know you're going to get a lot out of today's conversation because we're going to speak to the founder and CEO of Rocco Carriero, and we're going to get to that just after this. So you know what? If you want to know how having a 3 chords approach can bring more fulfillment to your long distance investing journey, then guess what? Today's the conversation you're going to want to listen to until the very last word. You know why? And I'm just going to get to the point because today's guest not only had and has over 2 decades of experience in banking as well as finance. He's also a member of the Columbus Citizens Foundation. I'm going to get to the point. Like I said, it gives me great pleasure to welcome to today's conversation the CEO and founder of Rocco Carriero, Mr. Rocco Carriero. Rocco, welcome to the show, man.
Billy, I'm so excited to be here today. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, it's a pleasure, and I won't tell everybody kind of what we were talking about before because, well, that's between you and I until you start to tell them what we were talking about, which will be okay. So no, I'm really looking forward to today's conversation, and I am absolutely sure that you're going to add massive value. So here's the thing. We talked about before, you're going to get 5 questions. You get 2 in the beginning, you're going to get 3 in the end. And so I kind of want to get started with question number 1, which is help us understand, Rocco, where do you call home?
Well, my primary residence is here in Southampton, New York, which is on the eastern tip of Long Island. So if you know Long Island, it's a very long island. We're about an hour and 30 minutes outside of Midtown Manhattan. For those of you that know the Hamptons, it's a big summer place for people, destination place that people overflow out of New York City, come out here for the weekends. But this is my full-time residence. Really love living here all year.
All right, fantastic. And by the way, I think that hour and a half, it can change depending on when people are actually heading out that way, right, from Manhattan.
Oh, yeah.
Would that be fair?
It could take sometimes up to 3 hours depending on the traffic. But with no traffic, hour and a half. With traffic, it could be up to 3 hours for sure.
All right, well, appreciate that. And help us understand, Rocco, what is the most positive thing that's happened to or for you in the last 24 hours?
Well, I can tell you one of the most positive things that have happened to me is that my daughter's getting ready to go compete in a national rowing regatta down in Florida. So she's a competitive rower. She is heading into her senior year of high school, and she's part of a team that's qualified, and they're going to be rowing this Thursday for a national championship. So I helped her get ready, and she's flying out around 10 o'clock this morning.
All right. Well, fantastic. And all the best to her. And I'm sure you'll be there rooting her on. So I'm looking forward to that. And we'll hear all about it. And listen, so here's the thing, Rocco, this is the thing that the Going Long family already knows about me, but you and I are just kind of getting to know one another. But I am a recovering perfectionist. And basically what that means is I try to do sometimes things that are, well, not, you wouldn't even try to do them. So because they're really difficult to do, like trying to tell your entire backstory in like the first 1.5 seconds of introducing you. So I know you've done a lot more. I would love for you to share, well, basically help me out by sharing your backstory with the Going Long family. And then also too, if you could share some of the major decisions that you've made to get to this point in your journey, and then we'll see where we take the conversation from there, Rocco. Sound like a plan?
Well, sounds like a plan. Let's do it.
All right, perfect. Over to you.
All right. So basically, my story goes back to, basically 1962. My parents immigrated from the Basilicata region of Italy to the United States. My father was a tailor, immigrated here, went to work for a tailor, opened up a tailor shop in our hometown of Patchogue, New York. They had, my mom was one of seven. So I grew up in a large Italian American family, 21 first cousins. We all lived in the same neighborhood. I spent a tremendous amount of time at my dad's tailor shops where I learned the idea around business, seeing him interact with his customers, and wasn't the best student in high school. Not because I just didn't try, I just had a kind of a hard time. My parents, English was their second language. They didn't really write or read English very well. So as a kid, I had to figure out a lot of what was going on at school. Had a great childhood, but that just, English and reading and writing and helping kids in school wasn't something that they were really good at. Fast forward, I make my way to college, first person in the family to head off to university. College threw me out at the age of 19 for having way too much fun and partying. And in fact, I was throwing parties. So I was focused on making money. I'd go into these dive bars. I'd bring in the cool bouncers and bartenders, which were really attractive. We would take a dive bar and make it into the hottest spot in Providence, Rhode Island, and made a bunch of money. The school was like, this kid's here for the wrong reasons. You're out of here. My parents were really, really disappointed. My father never probably made over $50,000 a year his whole life. Scraped together the money to send me to school. I blew it. But I was determined to turn my life around, get real focused, and to do great. So that was the age of 19. Fast forward, went to community college there, completed 2 years in 1 year, got back into school in Providence, finished really, really strong. And never, and I tell you, never, that was a defining moment for me where since then I kind of suffered with the same thing that you do, being a perfectionist. Since then, my focus has never been to drop the ball and to do everything the best I possibly could. So what was the most humiliating, horrible moment of my life turned out to be the best thing that could have ever happened to me. So fast forward, I got into the wealth management business. I've had a 25-year career in that industry. Started with no assets, no money, no friends that had any money, and no family that had any money. And now we're managing close to $1 billion in assets. Have multiple offices. Got a great team of people that work along with me. Wrote a book, which I'll talk a little bit about, called The Three Chords Approach to Life and Wealth Management. I work with some of America's highest level CEOs, entrepreneurs, and business owners. Married, 2 kids, have great relationship with my family, put in a lot of work. It's a lot of energy and work to make that successful. Sometimes I gotta pause everything else because I want to be a successful dad and husband and family member. And I also, want to focus on myself and my health and my wellness. And that's the area that I need to put more energy into. I need more travel and leisure. Come see you over in Spain.
All right, we can also head back to over to Italy if you want, if that was something that would be interesting for you as well.
Let's do it.
All right, sounds good. So you mentioned a couple of things, right? And starting out in 1962 and kind of bringing us here. And you said one of the things that is really interesting because I've been living in Europe, specifically in Barcelona, and there's a language, Catalan language, right, that they use. And so sometimes the kids will come home with certain kind of schoolwork. And the thing that you talked about, it resonates with a lot of people. If you are someone who's lived in another country, and I'm using a very specific language that they use here, but maybe you moved to Mexico and you don't speak Spanish and you got little kids and you're trying to figure out, okay, well, how do I actually add value? I'm just curious from you, like, because now you're able to look on it with some years behind, and it's something that you talked about, but what do you think that you personally took away from that experience? You talked about it really high level, but maybe that person who is either going through it right now or getting ready to go through it because they're thinking about moving their family to some place where they don't speak the language, they don't understand the culture. But I know that once you have some time to reflect, I'd love for you to just share maybe some of your thoughts on what that has helped you to do today.
Oh, my parents, while they wanted to help me, not being able to help me with those basic things created a very resourceful person. So really in elementary school, I realized if this is going to get done, it's going to be up to me. And while it was really hard for many years going through school, trying to figure these things out, I had to figure out my own, and all the skill sets that I learned in becoming resourceful, because there wasn't a lot of resources to basically be able to help me with things I needed to help to get done. I apply every day to the work that I do and the people I help. So in the work that I do as a wealth manager, I'm also a family advisor. We're advising people all the time, and people like, how the heck how did you come up with this? It's because of these learned skill sets that I learned 45 years ago, and throughout, been practicing my whole entire life. So it's been, and I think people that are moving, people that are questioning whether to move to another country, how is this going to impact their kids? I got to tell you, it's going to help develop their kids and help prepare them, help them even more for life down the road.
Yeah. Well, I'm already convinced, because I've been doing that for the last 22 years, at least at this point. So I appreciate you sharing that perspective, Rocco, because I think it's one of those that sometimes we tend to want to protect our children, and sometimes we have to just let them experience life. And if you're in a situation like that, you do find out that it helps them to gain resourcefulness. So speaking of which, so I do want to pivot, and I kind of led a little bit with that in the very beginning. We talked about the 3 chords, and I know you talk about it. You've written a book about it. And it's not just about gaining wealth, whatever that means. And I'd love for your idea of what wealth means. That's one of my kind of favorite questions to ask. But talk to us a little bit about your inspiration for the book and some of the different topics that you like to tackle there.
Sure. Well, really the high level overview of what the 3 chords is. So came up with this concept of writing a book, 3 chords approach to life and wealth management for business owners. The reason why I did it was that for 20 years was working with hard charging business people, the hardest charging CEOs, entrepreneurs, and business owners. And I, through getting to know these different people, and everybody was financially successful, but they may not have experienced true wealth. And I really looked at who I viewed to be the most successful. And they were the people that obviously were successful with their investments in their businesses, but they were also really successful with the relationships with their children, their significant others. And they also were really successful with taking care of themselves, right? They knew their health numbers. They were not smoking 4 packs of cigarettes a day. They were making sure that they took care of themselves, they took care of their family, and they took care of their business. And the people who did all 3, they achieved true wealth, in my opinion. And that's what the book is all about.
So appreciate you breaking that down for us and really being able to help to understand the health, both on the physical and mental side of things, relationship with significant other, and also, its overall relationships. You talk about financial success. And this is one of the things that because where I am today is not where I started. But just out of curiosity, when you talk about, because I love the fact that you talked about financially successful, how do you typically define that?
I would say financially successful is really defined as being independent, having your resources be enough where they can independently and passively take care of oneself. That is the most basic level of looking at it, where person has enough resources, whether through physical assets, securities, rental income, business income that they're not managing, interest. That's how I would view financially successful. And again, what one person spends, another person may not. We've got clients that spend, $1 million a year, and we've got clients that spend a couple of $100,000 a year, and they're both successful based upon their lifestyle and having the income to cover their lifestyle passively.
Yeah, love the way that you kind of define that, and I'm sure that there's someone who's on the treadmill running and they're thinking, yeah, but he said financially successful. What does that exactly mean? And to your point, whether you spend $1 million a year, $500,000 a year, or $20,000 a year, or maybe you're just getting started and you spend, $10,000 a year, but it's being able to have that ability to have investments that are covering the expenses that you have. So whatever your level is, or wherever you're on your trajectory to go, it's to keep that mindset. And speaking of mindset, because you've worked with hundreds, if not thousands, of people, and continue to do that today. And you mentioned over $1 billion in assets today. But what role do you see mindset playing in terms of helping someone get to, number one, set, and then be able to achieve the goal that they set for themselves?
Mindset is the most important thing. The people that we work with, which happen to be business owners, CEOs, and entrepreneurs, have a particular type of a mindset. Their mindset is thinking big. They typically think very positive. They don't necessarily look at they look at the glass as being half full versus half empty. They have to be like that in order because of the ups and downs inside of business. So mindset is really, really, really important, right? So you've got two different people. One person has a positive mindset, another person has a negative mindset. Let's use a doctor per se. Who's the person you want operating on you? Assuming that both their skills are equal, the positive mindset or the negative mindset.
Yeah, it's one of those. I typically would probably want the one that has the positive mindset, the positive outcome, right? And so in a very similar way that you are helping to move people forward, and mindset plays such a critical role in being able to achieve any kind of goal. Because if you can't see it, then you can't believe it. Sorry, I felt like I cut you off. I think you were in a flow. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I just am a big, I think about that often. I think as I talk to my kids, as I'm talking to my daughter this morning about the rowing competition, I'm like, are you excited about it? You're all ready. This is going to be amazing. And, and she kind of was, yes, she seemed nervous, but I didn't, I was like, I'm trying to make sure that her mindset is that this is going to be an amazing experience, regardless of what happens, right? Win, lose. I tell you, I was a quick story, 30 seconds here.
Yeah, sure.
I was over in Ireland, and it was during the Euro Cup. So I'm in Ireland. Mm-hmm. Ireland's playing Poland in soccer, and I forgot which city I was in. I think it was a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. The town was rocking. It was fantastic. Ireland loses. So I said to somebody, why is everybody celebrating? Ireland just lost. And the guy said to me, we're just excited that we got to play and be there. And I was like, you know what? These people have the right mindset. I just love it. And that was, so win or lose, being excited that you get to be there is the most important thing.
Yeah. And so being able to recognize that you having the opportunity to compete and being able to put things in the right perspective, there's also this idea that whether you have arrived at the moment of wealth, right, which is the three chords that you talk about, or you've arrived at one of those areas, which is being financially successful, there's also a very key role that I think a lot of times is underestimated in getting to that journey. And it's the importance and the power of relationships. I know this is something that you also like to think about, not just think about, but actually help people understand the importance of that. So could you maybe dive into that and just where you see the importance of relationships and being able to get to that wealth mindset, or that ability to be quote unquote wealthy?
I would say if you're talking about relationships as it pertains to business, relationships to business is like, water to fish. It's like it's essential. It's the oxygen, right? It's basically what allows business people to really foster and grow are the relationships that they build with other people, positive relationships with people. You never know who you can meet, who you can connect with, and who you might be able to help and who might be able to help you, all through relationships. So I'm a big believer in having solid relationships and never burning any bridges.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So being able to build solid relationships and being able to cherish those relationships is one thing, but I understand that you've also taken it to another level, because not only are you helping others to create not just the wealth mindset, but creating wealth for themselves according to how it's been defined previously, but there's also something that you do that is taking it even a step further, which is being able to give back. And I know philanthropic ventures are something that are really, really important to you. Can you talk about how that came to really be a focus area for you and kind of how you figure out where you want to be able to help through philanthropic ventures?
Well, this is something that I really want to get great at. Going back to that, I want to, I don't want to use the word perfection, but I want my clients and I want people to really understand the benefit and the joy that comes of giving and helping others. We work with a lot of people. Believe it or not, most people are not philanthropic. I hate to say it, that is the case. There are a lot of wonderfully philanthropic people, but the majority of people that have large financial resources are not as philanthropic as you think they are. And here's the answer to if you might ask, well, why is that? The reason being is not because they don't want to share or help others. It's because they're not quite sure if they may need those resources down the road, and they do not want to become dependent on anybody else. Therefore, they want to retain more of the resources. So one of the things we're trying to do is educate our clients and let them know that you're never going to run out of money. And if this is an investment in yourself and your own personal joy by making contributions and helping others and just trying it out. So we're going to be doing workshops around this topic to try to help educate our clients with it. We want our clients to try it, and for the purposes of the joy that they get is priceless. And there was a billionaire that I know of that this guy was miserable, owns jets, yachts, professional sports teams, most miserable guy you ever met. One of his friends said, "Hey, listen, I'm going to Mexico to deliver some wheelchairs to kids that are handicapped, that they can't afford wheelchairs. You want to come with me?" So the guy's like, "All right, I'll go." So the guy goes, he brings a wheelchair, gives it to a kid who could not get their own wheelchair. And he said, "Rocco, I tell you," he goes, "it wasn't until that moment that I actually did feel wealthy." So from there forward, the guy went on and he purchased thousands of wheelchairs for people. And he said, "I own sports franchises, jets, boats, you name it, mansions, multiple houses. Nothing made me feel richer than being able to help these kids that could not help themselves." So that's, when you hear stuff like that, I'm trying to have my clients be able to experience that sheer joy, because that, money can't buy happiness. But in this particular case, the joy that this person received as a result of being able to help these kids and provide them wheelchairs, just amazing. I've never seen the guy's a different person. He's not the same person that he was just a few years back.
Yeah, this is one of those things that is really important. It's not just to be able to talk about it, but it's actually be able to do it. Because it sounds to me like when this billionaire that you were talking about, when they weren't just, I guess, either having a conversation with you or behind a screen or asking someone else to do it, the fact that they were fully engaged in that activity and were able to see the result right in front of them, it's inspired them to continue to go out and do more and make more positive impact. Was that seem accurate?
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I think that that experience bred other experiences, and it just was having so much fun. Listen, you can't take the money with you, right? Of course, you want to help your family and your friends, and you want to live financially independently and enjoy all the wonderful things that are life. But if you can still do that and help other people, then you're really, you're getting everything. You get all the juice out of life.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely fantastic. Well, listen, you've helped us to get a broad idea of who you're helping, how you're helping, the areas of focus that are important to you. And the thing is like, Rocco, we got to get to the Going Long Final 3. And I never ask any of our guests, and today you're our special guest, the Going Long Final 3, and tell me that you're ready. So my question to you is, are you ready?
I'm ready. Let's do it.
I think you were born ready, man. Listen, and this is going to be kind of a fun question, because question number 3, which is the first of the Going Long Final 3, actually has to do with international travel, because I'm originally from Columbus, Ohio, but I've been living over here, as you know, in Europe for the last 20 plus years, over 2 decades. It doesn't even seem possible. But I would love for you to share with us, Rocco, what is your favorite European city that you've either visited or is still on your bucket list to visit?
I want to go to London. Never been to London, been to other places in Europe, but London is on my bucket list. I got to get there.
Okay. Wow, man. That's interesting. Very cool. Very cool. Because we were talking about the European stuff before. So anyway, everybody, that was just pre-conversation. So London, we'll mark that up. Question number 2 really has to do with a lot of the experiences that you've had, right? I'm sure not every single experience that you wanted to go out and create actually went according to plan. So I don't want you to think about the mistake or the learning opportunity or however you want to frame that. What I do want you to think about, though, Rocco, is what is the lesson that you've learned, right? And it sounds like you're really into learning lessons and applying that new knowledge. What is the one lesson that you would share with the Going Long family today that you know we need to hear and you know is going to help somebody today?
If you want to make something happen, it's got to be you to make it happen. Because if you sit around and wait for somebody else to make it happen for you, it's never going to happen.
Love that. Get out, make it happen. It's up to you. It's up to you. So, and we did talk about your book. We're going to make sure that we have your book listed as well in the show notes, so everybody can check it out. But also would love to know what is, because we hear question number 3, where we always like to continue to feed the brain. What is one book that you would recommend to the Going Long family today?
I love Napoleon Hill's work. Not sure if you've ever heard of Napoleon Hill, but he wrote a book called Think and Grow Rich. One of the greatest books ever written, helps people personally and professionally. So I highly recommend that book.
All right, fantastic. So another one from Mr. Hill. And yes, if you haven't heard it, we're going to include a link here in the show notes as well. And you know what, Rocco, these conversations just literally fly by. Like they fly by so quickly. And I think about you talking to us and talking about your dad in 1962 and then working in a tailor shop, becoming a tailor, and you got a chance to see business up close and personal. And you realize like, hey, listen, these are really cool kind of concepts, but your parents, they weren't actually originally from the US. So you found yourself in this very unique situation where your parents, maybe they wanted to help, but they couldn't. And some people would see that as a negative, but you know what? It's actually helped to make you an even more resourceful person today, to the fact that, you were the first person to go to college. Once you got to college, well, you know what? You were learning, but it sounded like you were having a lot more fun at the same time. You probably built some new skills, but realized like, hey, listen, I need to take a break. I'm going to go to community college, going to get things done. And then went from there and, continue to have success, found a real focus area in terms of helping people to build significant resources in terms of financially successful. But then you also realize like, hey, listen, it's not just about the money. It's how can we also have the right relationships and being able to have the right health on top of these types of things, and inspired you to write your own book. And now you continue to go out and help others, people that are business owners, CEOs, et cetera, et cetera. And the Going Long family is like, yeah, Billy, just ask them the question. So what we'd love to know, Rocco, is what's the best way for the Going Long family to find out more about you, what it is that you're doing at Rocco Carriero, and so we can get in touch.
I would say just go right to the website, and that is RoccoCarriero.com. Just go right to the website. You can read more about it and take one of the quizzes we do on there too. It's a lot of fun.
All right, fantastic. So we'll make it really, really easy. I'm sure there'll be a link here and you just click it. And so don't worry about writing everything down. Rocco, I would just like to say thank you very much for deciding to invest your time with me and the entire Going Long family today. Thank you.
Thank you, Billy, for having me. This is awesome.
All right. Really appreciate it. If you give me like 10 seconds, just want to wrap things up with the Going Long family. We can go from there.
Sure.
Listen, everybody, Rocco left so much goodness. Take today, like you heard his story, right? And especially for those of you who are living overseas or getting ready to move overseas, or just you're thinking about, hey, listen, this is a life experience. It goes beyond financially successful. The things that he shared with you, building relationships, also thinking about your own mental and physical health. These are things that are very, very important. He shared them with you. Share today's conversation with 2 or 3 other, or at least 2 or 3 other people. Talk about the concepts. Heck, even reach out to Rocco. He's made it really, really easy for you. So while you're doing that, I'll be here preparing for the next conversation. So until then, go out and make it a great day. And thank you very much.